Imagine a modest city, almost invisible among the powers of the ancient world. Now think that this same city, in a few centuries, would be responsible for shaping the history of the West, dominating vast territories and redefining concepts of power and civilization. It seems unlikely, right? However, this is the true story of Rome, whose rise was marked by brilliant strategies, unexpected alliances, and breathtaking military conquests. In this video, we will explore the trajectory of this city, from its humble origins as a simple agricultural village to its peak as the heart of one of the greatest empires in history. Throughout this journey, we will unveil the decisive factors that allowed Rome not only to grow, but to thrive in a landscape filled with challenges and powerful competitors. Get ready to dive into a story of achievements, lessons learned, and, most importantly, insights that can still be applied in our lives today. Rome shows us that great empires are not built overnight. It is the details, the strategic choices, and the resilience in the face of adversity that pave the way to greatness. Stay with us until the end, and discover how this city was able to shape the fate of the ancient world, and perhaps even inspire your own journey. The foundation of Rome is shrouded in fascinating myths, the most famous being the tale of the brothers Romulus and Remus, nursed by a she-wolf on the banks of the Tiber River. While legends are important to Roman identity, what we can historically confirm is even more surprising. Rome began as a modest agricultural community, located in a strategic point that undoubtedly contributed to its future rise. Imagine the scene, a small village surrounded by hills, where life revolved around agriculture and basic survival. Was a place of little significance in a world dominated by powers like the Etruscans and the Greeks. But what transformed this small community into one of the most powerful empires in history? The answer lies in geography and strategy. Rome's position near the Tiber River and trade routes favored defense and commerce, two essential elements for its growth. However, location was not the only factor. The early Romans understood the importance of strategic planning. They made carefully calculated alliances, strengthened their defenses, and gradually expanded their borders in a methodical but effective manner. These principles of strategy and long-term vision are as relevant today as they were in antiquity. Just as in ancient Rome, the choices we make in decisive moments can shape the course of our lives, whether in business, relationships, or the pursuit of personal success. Before Rome consolidated as a republic, it was ruled by a series of kings, each playing a crucial role in shaping the city's early institutions. Among these kings, the last, Tarquin the Proud, is primarily remembered for his tyrannical reign, which sparked revolts and culminated in the fall of the monarchy. But what does this era of monarchy teach us about leadership and power? Imagine living under a king who concentrates all power in his hands, with no room for discussion or public participation. For the early Romans, this was reality. However, the concentration of unchecked power always comes at a price. Tarquin's reign was marked by abuses that ultimately led to his expulsion, illustrating a recurring historical truth: the mismanagement of power, whether in great empires or small organizations, always leads to downfall. Still, the early kings of Rome left important legacies. They established many of the social and political structures that would shape the city. These foundations served as a basis for Rome's transition to a republic, showing that even moments of tyranny can lead to learning and progress. Just like in our lives, even the toughest challenges can pave the way for something greater and better. With the fall of the monarchy in 509 BC, Rome entered a new political phase that would transform its history. The rise of the Roman Republic brought a government system where power was no longer centralized in a single king, but divided among different institutions, such as the Senate and magistrates. This new political model offered Roman citizens greater say in decisions, marking the first step toward Rome's greatness. The Roman Republic is an example of how political organization can define the fate of a nation. Instead of following the model of neighboring monarchies, Rome bet on citizen participation and the creation of a balance of power. On one side, the Senate, composed of the wealthiest and most influential men of the city, and on the other, the consuls, elected to lead militarily and make critical decisions. This political structure allowed Rome to expand in an organized manner, maintaining internal stability while conquering territories. Just like in many modern democracies, the division of power ensured that the empire could grow without losing control. But the Roman Republic excelled not only in the political arena. Under this system, Rome developed a disciplined and efficient army, which soon began to demonstrate its strength against neighboring enemies. Military organization and tactical adaptability were crucial elements in Rome's expansion. This phase marks the beginning of an era of conquests that would shape the history of empires. Just like in our personal and professional lives, a solid and organized foundation is the cornerstone for long-term success. In the early centuries of the Republic, Rome was still an emerging power, but this situation would soon change. The conquest of the Italian peninsula was a decisive milestone in Rome's rise, as it extended its control over the Etruscans, the Samnites, and the Greek colonies in southern Italy. Each victory, each strategic alliance, strengthened the foundations of what would become the greatest empire of the ancient world. Imagine living in a time when city-states were constantly competing for supremacy. While other civilizations fragmented their resources in internal wars, Rome distinguished itself through its ability to unify territories and absorb cultures. Through intelligent alliances and military strength, the city expanded its borders and, with that, its influence as well. The success of this unification not only increased the territory under Roman control, but also strengthened the economy and social cohesion of the city. It is like in the business world. Strategic alliances, when done well, can transform an organization, allowing it to thrive in a competitive environment. But Roman victories were not limited to land conquest. Rome was skilled at transforming defeated enemies into valuable allies. By incorporating conquered peoples into their legions and political system, Rome dominated not only by force but also through inclusion. This strategy allowed the empire to continue growing in a stable and sustainable manner. Just like today, where it is wiser to turn adversaries into allies rather than eliminate them, Rome used diplomacy as a powerful tool for expansion. The Punic Wars were one of the largest and most decisive confrontations in the history of the ancient world. These wars, fought between Rome and Carthage, marked the fierce rivalry for control of the Mediterranean. The first conflict began in 264 BC, and the battles that followed lasted more than a century, testing the strengths and strategies of both powers. Although the great Carthaginian general Hannibal achieved notable victories, especially with his bold crossing of the Alps with elephants, Rome proved resilient and ultimately emerged victorious. Imagine the impact these wars had on Roman society. Tension hung in the air, with each battle shaping the destiny of both civilizations. Hannibal, with his incredible strategic capability, brought terror to the gates of Rome, inflicting devastating defeats on Roman armies, such as the Battle of Cannae. However, Rome, instead of succumbing to fear, demonstrated a characteristic that would define its empire for centuries: resilience. Even after suffering heavy losses, Rome reorganized its forces, adapted its strategies, and eventually overcame its enemy. This ability to rise after defeat is a lesson that resonates to this day. In times of crisis, persistence and adaptation are essential for victory. Rome's victories over Carthage not only secured control of strategic territories like Sicily, Sardinia, and Spain, but also symbolized the definitive rise of Rome as the dominant power in the Western Mediterranean. The final triumph came with the destruction of Carthage in 146 BC, an event that marked the end of an era and paved the way for Roman expansion into the Eastern Mediterranean. The destruction of such a powerful enemy city was a clear sign that Rome was willing to go to great lengths to ensure its hegemony. With the destruction of Carthage and the end of the Punic Wars, Rome quickly turned its attention to the Eastern Mediterranean, where new kingdoms and powerful civilizations awaited. This phase was marked not only by territorial expansion, but also by the assimilation of cultures that would profoundly enrich Roman civilization. Rome subjugated kingdoms such as Macedonia, Greece, and Egypt, absorbing the best of these cultures and further strengthening its identity and power. Imagine Rome in this moment, an emerging military and cultural powerhouse. extending its dominion over lands that once belonged to the greatest kingdoms of the ancient world. Macedonia, with its legendary armies, and Greece, the cradle of philosophy, art, and science, were now part of the vast Roman Empire. However, Rome did not merely conquer these territories. It incorporated their cultural riches, ideas, and innovations. This exchange helped Rome transform into an advanced civilization, not only in military terms but also intellectually. The ability to learn and adapt to new realities is one of the greatest legacies that Rome leaves us. Rome was not content with military victories alone. The efficient administration of the conquered regions was another pillar of Roman success. Cities were reorganized, roads were built to connect distant provinces, and trade flourished under a carefully structured system. This level of organization is reminiscent of the management of large modern corporations, where logistics and administration are essential for success. Rome understood early on that to maintain a vast empire, it was necessary to invest in infrastructure and the efficient integration of conquered regions. As Rome expanded its territory and consolidated its power in the Mediterranean, internal challenges began to grow. To keep pace with expansion, it was necessary not only to have an efficient military force, but also a political structure capable of handling the new status of superpower. It was in this context that leaders like Gaius Marius and Julius Caesar introduced reforms that would change the course of Roman history. These reforms not only strengthened the Roman army, but also planted the seeds of future tensions that would lead to the end of the Republic. One of the most important reforms came from Gaius Marius, who opened the ranks of the army to all Roman citizens, regardless of social class. Before this, only the wealthiest men had the privilege of serving as soldiers. This change not only strengthened the Roman legions, but also gave poorer citizens the chance to ascend socially through military service. However, this growing dependence on the legions also created a new type of loyalty, one that was often directed towards generals like Marius and Caesar, rather than the Senate or the Republic. This power dynamic would change the fate of Rome forever. Julius Caesar, with his ambition and charisma, took full advantage of this new reality. His victorious campaigns in Gaul, combined with his political skill, made him a central figure in Roman history. Caesar not only successfully led in battle, but also used his victories to consolidate political power. His internal reforms, including the restructuring of the Senate and the expansion of citizens' rights, were crucial in modernizing Rome. Yet, these actions also created a divide within the political elite, who feared the increasing concentration of power in the hands of a single man. Julius Caesar is undoubtedly one of the most striking figures in Roman history. His rise to power was not only the result of his impressive military victories, but also of his ability to manipulate the political intrigues surrounding the Roman Republic. Caesar capitalized on a Rome weakened by internal divisions, and with his charismatic leadership, forever altered the course of Roman history. Caesar's campaign in Gaul was the turning point of his career. He not only conquered vast territories but also secured wealth and glory for Rome. These victories made him an extremely popular figure among the legions and the Roman people. However, Caesar's military success generated fear and mistrust among senators, who worried he might become too powerful. This fear was justified. By crossing the Rubicon in 49 BC, Caesar directly challenged the authority of the Senate, triggering a civil war that would lead to the end of the Republic. Caesar's famous phrase, "The die is cast," uttered upon crossing the Rubicon, symbolizes the definitive break with the Republican system. The civil war was brutal, but Caesar emerged victorious, consolidating his power as dictator for life. During his brief period as absolute ruler, Caesar implemented several significant reforms, including the reorganization of the calendar, the expansion of the Senate, and the granting of Roman citizenship to many inhabitants of the conquered provinces. These reforms transformed Rome, but they also concentrated so much power in Caesar's hands that his death seemed inevitable. After Julius Caesar's death, Rome plunged into yet another series of internal conflicts. However, this time it would be a young leader, Octavian, later known as Augustus, who would restore order and consolidate power. Through a series of brilliant political maneuvers and carefully formed alliances, Augustus emerged as the first emperor of Rome, ushering in a new era in Roman history. Octavian showed remarkable political skill from an early age. He formed the Second Triumvirate with Mark Antony and Lepidus, a strategic alliance that helped defeat Caesar's assassins. But as the triumvirate began to fray, Octavian's ambitions put him on a collision course with Mark Antony. The confrontation culminated in the famous Battle of Actium in 31 BC, where Octavian defeated the combined forces of Mark Antony and Cleopatra, consolidating his control over Rome and its provinces. With his victory, Octavian adopted the title of Augustus in 27 BC, officially becoming the first emperor of Rome. Although he maintained the facade of restoring the old republican traditions, Augustus, in practice, concentrated power in his own hands, laying the foundations for the Roman Empire. Augustus's reign was marked by a period of internal peace and prosperity known as the Pax Romana, during which Rome expanded and stabilized both politically and economically. His leadership reformed the army, strengthened the borders, and promoted cultural development. Under the rule of Augustus and his successors, Rome reached its peak territorially and administratively. The empire extended from Britain in the north to the Sahara Desert in the south, and from the Iberian Peninsula in the west to the borders of Persia in the east. This vast territorial reach posed an unprecedented logistical and administrative challenge in history, and it was at this moment that Rome's skill in organizing and managing a diverse empire shone through. Roman expansion was accompanied by an impressive network of roads that connected distant provinces to the heart of the empire. These roads not only facilitated the rapid movement of troops, but also encouraged trade and cultural exchange among different parts of the empire. The famous saying, "All roads lead to Rome," was not just a metaphor, but a literal reality for the vast system of communication and transportation that Rome built. This network enabled Rome to maintain a unified and efficient presence throughout the empire, ensuring the flow of information, goods, and resources. The administration of the conquered provinces was one of the great triumphs of the Roman Empire. Instead of governing all areas directly from Rome, the empire appointed local governors to oversee the regions. This allowed for greater efficiency and control, while maintaining a degree of autonomy in the provinces. Rome not only controlled these territories militarily, but also invested in their infrastructure. Aqueducts, paved roads, and entire cities were built to integrate the provinces into the empire, promoting economic prosperity and security. This attention to administrative detail helped Rome maintain cohesion and stability for centuries. Throughout this video, you have followed the journey of Rome from its humble beginnings as an agricultural village to becoming the heart of one of the greatest empires in history. Rome's rise was marked by challenges, victories, and an extraordinary capacity for adaptation and strategy. From its founding legends to the reign of emperors, Rome leaves us valuable lessons about power, leadership, and resilience. The history of Rome teaches us that greatness is built step by step, with strategic decisions, perseverance in the face of adversity, and above all, a long-term vision. Whether in administering an empire or in our daily lives, the principles that guided Rome remain relevant today. Planning, organization, and the ability to learn from mistakes were fundamental to Rome's success, and they can be equally important in our personal and professional journeys. But just as Rome had its height, it also faced its challenges. History shows us that no matter how grand a triumph is, there will always be obstacles to overcome. The real question is, how will you apply the lessons of Rome in your own life? Are you ready to face your challenges with the same determination and strategy that made Rome a lasting empire? If you enjoyed this journey and want to continue learning from history, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and follow our upcoming videos. Until next time.